let me tell you some of the other things I found out about Stephen Avery that I found interesting that weren't included. In the months leading up to Teresa Halbach's disappearance, Avery had called Auto Trader several times and always specifically requested for her to come take the photos.
I saw this.
She had complained to her boss that she didn't want to go to Avery's trailer anymore because once when she came out, Avery was waiting for her wearing only a towel. He clearly had an obsession with Halbach. It says this was excluded for being too inflammatory in the trial. On the day that she went missing, Avery had called her 3 times, twice from a *67 number to hide his identity. Remember they alluded to Stephen Avery having a criminal past?
Yes.
Okay, one of those criminal past things included animal cruelty. Which, right, so dipped a cat in oil, threw him on a bonfire. That is pretty nuts. Okay, got it. Included threatening a female relative at gunpoint. Okay, I mean, considering this family and these people in this town, I'm not too shocked at that.
And I quote, that gun wasn't even loaded. That's what he said.
A part of the trial where her coworker sat up on the stand, the kind of older male, and said that she had gotten some phone calls to her cell phone and had said like, oh, not this guy again. And you're kind of left with like, what? You know, you assume, is it the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend that kind of made his way in, or the roommate, or someone that you're like they're trying to draw you to compare. And then you read something like that and you're like, or was it him? Was it him? And she was like, oh, I'm not taking this guy's call again. And then, you know, to the coworker saying, well, who is it? And she going, well, never mind. Don't worry about it. Like, you know, if it were a boyfriend or someone, you'd probably say that. If it were, you know, annoying work situation, you might just be like, I got it covered, never mind. But it's interesting that they didn't ask follow-up to those types of things, or they omitted it.
There are a lot of things they list, but the only one other one that I found kind of interesting was that he had purchased handcuffs and leg irons, like the ones that Brendan Dassey described, holding her only 3 weeks prior. And Avery said he'd purchased them for use with Jody, whom he had a tumultuous relationship.
Which would correlate with what she's currently saying.
Yeah, that he was a monster?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. She came out either today or yesterday saying he was a monster. So I don't know. Those were just some of the points where I was like, these are some interesting things that were left out, and I don't know why. If Stephen Avery didn't do it, who did?
Stephen Avery said his brothers did it.
Well, both brothers? The older and the younger?
His brother's trying to set him up.
Which brother?
Oh, yeah. His brother's trying to set him up because, you know, their dad was going to give the Avery auto salvage business all to Stephen.
Yeah, I found that. I saw that online about Charles, the older brother.
Oh, yeah, the older brother, yeah. Oh,
the older brother. So, yeah. Did you guys know that
oh my God.
Avery's court filing also cited that Stephen, the older brother, the family business, like you said, but also there was jealousy over Jody. Yeah.
What a piece to fight over.
And Jody, while she was in prison, said,
I'll tell you that. That was a nice looking coat.
While Jody was in prison, she did say that Charles frightened her.
Look, if you watch that documentary, he is frightening.
Yeah,
there's
I was about to say she chose one,
but
the dad's about the only one.
Well, she chose the best looking one. Obviously, I would have gone with Wilford Brimley. I mean, that hair and the options.
He is not Wilford Brimley. I loved Our House. What are you doing now? Oh. All right.
That's his mustache.
Now, Earl Avery, the younger brother.
Gotta eat droats.
Now, we didn't even really see Earl Avery, the younger brother, in the documentary. However, I did learn that he was charged with sexually assaulting his 2 daughters. And that when police came out to take DNA evidence on November 9th, you know, her body was found on the 5th, the younger brother hid from police and refused to let them take DNA evidence.
That is definitely paper thrower. Hang on, let me.
Well,
yeah.
I thought 2 angles of different people. I thought at least the way that they did it. So again, with responsible, it's not journal. I mean, I guess it's journalism. Is it journalism if it's a documentary? Is it filmmaking? Is it journalism?
What's journalism anymore? Can you say
what I was going to say? So are they required to be responsible?
WWMMD.
Yeah.
What would Michael Moore do?
Yeah, well, see, he would do what they've done, which is to slant it one way. But
Make it work in his favor.
He
I
would. He would.
I think that the brother and the uncle, is it the brother and the
Yeah,
uncle?
so that's who I've got next. So we've got Scott Taddick, or whatever his name is, Barb's now husband, and the brother Bobby Dassey. So Scott,
Fishy.
these are the parts I found interesting about him. As far as Teresa Hallback goes, Avery claims Taddick, or whatever this dude's name is, was at the sister's home on the Avery salvage yard property twice on the day that Teresa was murdered. And it was Barb's van that Teresa was taking the photos of for Auto Trader. So Barb, like Taddick, knew that Ms. Hallback would be coming to the yard to photograph the van. What's more is Taddick's only alibi is Bobby Dassey, who is now his stepson. In fact, they're mutual alibis because they claim they saw each other driving on their way to the hunt. And according to Avery's filing, no one else can vouch for their whereabouts besides the two for each other.
I have it. It's those two. And when Teresa was getting those phone calls, it wasn't from Steven, it was from that guy.
It's possible. They knew that they could set up Steven because of his wrongful conviction before, because the police department didn't like him. He was easy bait.
Here's all I'm going to say. Your family member, a brother, whatever relationship you have with him, is about to stand to inherit $36 million from a lawsuit. Do you do anything that compromises that, or do you sit and wait for a little payout that you're probably going to get just by sitting on the property and be a family member? That's weird to me.
I know.
Yeah, unless you made you did not use good judgment. And when you did not use said good judgment, you made a horrible mistake. And then you went to your buddy who works at the sheriff's department and said, I made a big mistake. And they say, oh, that's okay. We'll take care of it. Don't you worry about a thing. You just go ahead and go to sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
Speculative.
Assuming this is where you're headed next, the other two that they made to look a little fishy in this were the roommate and the ex-boyfriend of Teresa Hallbach, the brother.
I don't have enough on the brother and or the ex-boyfriend / roommate. I got one more thing to say about Bobby Dassey, though. So Bobby's movements on the day of Hallback's is said to have been the day that Hallback said to have been murdered. Struck Avery as suspicious. He, as in Bobby Dassey, had claimed to have gone hunting after seeing Teresa on the property. And he flat out said that Scott Taddick would say he and Bobby had passed each other on the way to hunting. So it's almost like they set it up. Like,
well, they did. They're the only alibi.
And according to Avery's court filing, which cited a Calumet County Sheriff's Department report, a coworker of Taddick's, the stepfather, reported that Taddick had approached him to sell a .22 rifle that belonged to one of the Dassey boys. And a .22 rifle is believed to be the weapon that killed Hallback. However, I've also heard that the bullet they found came from Stephen Avery's gun that he hung above his bed. So I don't know.
Where does it go from here? So people have a fascination. Do they fixate on this case and only this case, or do you think everybody's interests, as it does, they'll move on?
I think that we are fickle, and I think that we're always, as a collective, always looking for the next thing to outrage us. You know what I mean? Because then I don't have to be outraged about my own life.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and be outraged about something else. But I think that it's moving in the direction where he will get a new trial. And I think that, and again, let's go back to media. I think that the media is equally as fickle. We kind of feed off of each other in this weird kind of yin and yang kind of way. If, and everybody keeps saying, if you just stop buying or paying attention or watching, then they won't film it. It's sort of true. But what they'll do is they'll drum it up to make it more interesting, and they'll dangle the carrot, and we'll all be like, well, oh, I need to watch that a little bit more, yeah? Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
I know nothing about that. I know nothing about trying to make people watch TV.
Yeah, I was going to say. She's over there like, no.
But
you don't make horrendous statements like murder is hot. I mean, that's just...
Murder is so hot right now.
Murder's so hot right now.
Murder is so hot right now.
They should have totally made Zoolander 2 about the hot murder. If Stephen Avery did it, well, then I'm glad he's in jail. But if he didn't do it...
That's messed up.
Stop.